Hello, welcome back. Welcome to this episode of Altitude. And with me today we have Sasha. Sasha from the AfroBot Coalition, formerly the AfroBot Boys and Girl. How are you doing today, Sasha?
I'm doing very well.
So I thank you for taking time away from your busy schedule. I know that you've been in a coding class. We'll talk a little bit about the coding class. We're going to talk a little bit about your experience with the robotics team that you were on. And we're going to maybe talk a little bit about how you got interested in diving into the whole robotics thing. So why don't we start there? Does that sound good?
Sure.
So how did you get interested in robotics?
Well, it first started when I went to Orlando, Florida for a dance competition. There was this day off, so we decided to go on rides. There was this one ride, it was the under the sea ride from The Little Mermaid.
Okay.
There was this one time in the ride, there was like little puppets acting. I'm like, how did they do that? Mm-hmm. And so my mom told me it's coding. And so that's how I got interested to coding.
So you were in Orlando, and was it at Disney or Little Mermaid at Disney?
Disney, yes.
And then, so you saw the puppets that were moving, and then that's how you got interested in how the arms move and
yes.
Okay, and all the whole robotics thing just took off from there, and that's how you guys became to be the world-renowned AfroBot Boys and Girl for that one season. So you got into robotics that way. How did you find out about more about coding? I mean, do you go to any coding classes or?
Well, I just started a coding class last week. It's at BDPA. Mm-hmm. We learned how to use HTML mm-hmm. to like make a story or something like that, okay. And how to make an unordered list, and how to do number by number with pixels with a picture.
So you're doing graphic sizing when you can, so is that when you put the picture on a web page and you can change the sizes of it? Is that the pixels?
Yes.
Because not everybody is smart as you, so we got to make sure we let our audience know about all that stuff. So that's pretty amazing. So you're learning HTML, you're learning about graphics, and you're learning about all the visual aspects of it as well as programming, right? Because you said you had a list. What kind of lists are there? You said unordered lists.
So it's basically like a list that you make, but with coding. Mm-hmm. So the unordered list, it will look like as if it had bullet points. Mm-hmm. Now, there's an ordered list. That ordered list would have like numbers by the side of it.
Very cool.
And then you could program a list inside of a list. Now that uses ABCs and
all kinds of,
yeah,
I mean, you can do
letters.
Once you learn how to do that, so you still have a few more weeks that you'll be attending that, right? So that's
yes.
going to go for a while. That's very good. And I neglected to say, what grade are you in?
5th.
You're in 5th grade, but
I was supposed to be in 4th.
Right.
I actually went to 4th for the first term and a little bit of term 2. That's when I moved to 5th grade, mm-hmm. which is the other side of the building. Wow. Of the
facility of the school.
Yes.
So you were on the younger side. So here yes. you are a 4th grader. Actually, you should be in 4th grade, but you're actually really in 5th grade because you got jumped ahead.
Yes.
And you're doing all this coding, right? Doing
yes.
the coding, and you worked on a robotics team, right, through the Minnesota STEM Partnership. Nice
yes.
shirt, by the way. And you guys did a fantastic job there and had a good time. We'll talk a little bit about the experience you had, but I'm really fascinated by all the technology that you learned as part of that. So tell me a little bit about the competition. So you have the actual part of the competition that the robot, you program the robot, and then you have a presentation, right?
Yes.
So let's talk first a little bit about the presentation. What was the competition about? And tell me a little bit about your...
Well, the competition was about outer space. So the project that I did was basically like problems that can occur in space. The problem that I was thinking of was oxygen, because like that's basically the most important thing that you need. And so, you know the oxygen tanks that are on the astronauts' backs while they're like completing tasks?
While they're floating around,
Yes,
out
yes.
tethered, right?
If that ran out, there would be nothing to do if there was no
They'd be in
backup.
big trouble.
Yes.
They would be. So, yeah, so what would they do? What was your presentation about?
It was about like how we can have the backup oxygen tank on the arm with oxygen
Oh,
so that they can actually return to the space shuttle without having problems.
that's a brilliant idea. So your thought was they just strap something on their forearm
On
or
the arm,
something.
yeah.
Then they have enough to get back. That's good. Some kind of reserve supply type of thing. That's very good. I hope NASA sees this video. Need to send you down out to outer space too, help out those astronauts. So in addition to having the presentation, you guys did pretty good at your presentation, I hear too, right?
Yes.
Yeah, you did. So let's talk just real briefly a little bit about the robot and programming the robot. What was the competition like, and then what part of the robot did you like best?
The competition, it was it could be fun, but it could be like frustrating because the robot can like glitch during
It's mission type of
yes.
thing when it's moving?
Yes.
Okay.
And that's how it could be frustrating. But the thing
But
that
you didn't get frustrated, did you?
No.
Okay.
So that's how like, but when it's fun, it doesn't really have to be frustrating because like you'll probably be able to figure out a way to
Maybe.
make it stop glitching. Because every time we finish our mission or like
When you get done with it?
yes,
And then
and when we go back to the room, we can actually add things to the program so that it won't glitch during the mission.
Very cool, very cool. So was it a new experience? How many times have you been to a competition like that?
I've only been to a competition once. That was my first competition
Okay,
with programming.
fantastic. And you guys did a fantastic job too. So hopefully you had a good time. Hopefully you'll come back or you'll do other types of competitions, I'm sure, that are ahead of you. Now, tell me a little bit about, have you thought about what school or even what type of job, or you're free to just say whatever career you think you might want to go into? Have you ever thought about what kind of job you want to get?
No.
Well, you got plenty of time. Let me tell you, you keep doing what you're doing and stay focused in on your grades and your school, because obviously you're brilliant. You're able to jump ahead a grade, and just keep doing what you're doing. I'm sure you have a very, very bright future ahead of you. So Ms. Sasha, thank you very much for coming today on this episode of Altitude. Welcome back. Well, with me right now is Miss J. Miss J, how are you doing today?
I am well, thank you. And yourself?
I'm doing wonderful.
All right.
So we're going to talk a little bit about what a high school student needs to think about as they go into college, or maybe anticipate certain scenarios, certain professional and networking.
Yes.
You know, how they handle themselves, potentially talk about college students that say, I wish I would have focused in on that.
Yes,
So we're going to talk
yes.
about etiquette
Sure.
as well, right? So,
yes.
well, thank you very much. Now, tell me a little bit about what you do. I know I called you Miss J purposely. So do you want to share a little bit about what you do professionally?
I will. But first, let me tell you about Miss J.
Okay.
I'm a Southern girl.
Okay.
Come from Louisiana. And if you're anything over 18, you are a Miss something. So my name is Juliet Mitchell. Juliet has 3 syllables. Teenagers don't like saying all those syllables, so they kind of narrowed it down to Miss J. But they had to call me Miss something. So that's how I got the Miss J persona.
Very well.
Yes.
So what do you do? What do you do for a living, as
All
they say?
right. Well, currently, for the past just about 20 years, I've been doing professional development, focusing on business and social etiquette. I didn't start with that. I call it work readiness. And I still do work readiness, but I do it from a context of how to get your being, your social self ready for the work environment.
Fantastic.
Yes.
So that's very important work, because our young people need to focus in on being prepared for the future, right?
That's
'Cause the
true.
future is
Yes.
here.
Yes.
Future isn't
Yes.
coming. They are in the midst of this. So tell me a little bit about the project that you're working on, conversation that you're going to have with college students potentially, and maybe some lessons learned from high school students as they go into college.
Oh, awesome. So I've been working with a number of colleges for the past few years, and that's where it seems to be my sweet spot, so to speak, getting people ready for the workforce. And what I'm finding that a lot of college students are saying they didn't get certain skills, especially social skills, while they were in high school. And now they're in college getting ready to move into life on their own. And they're looking back and saying, man, I wish I had this in high school, or I
Sure.
wish I had done that. And I give you an example. I used to teach college success classes. And in the classes, one of the biggest things was to learn about you. So you will know how to articulate who you are to a college professor, to an internship. So we explore you as a person, your strengths, your challenges. I choose not to say weaknesses. I call them challenges, things that you are not really good at or has posed a challenge in your life. So if you can address those things, they don't get in the way of your skills.
Oh, absolutely. And I know being involved with various technology organizations
Yes.
over the past, like you said, for me, decades, is some of our students are very good with technology.
Yes.
You know, they're very focused, and they aren't really social creatures. They are, but they're in their own social entity, right?
Yes.
There's circles, gamers and programmers, and some of them have a tendency to kind of break off and have their own set of skills. So what you do sounds to be very important, and very important skills that will help these kids maybe come out of their shell or understand that there's a bigger opportunities for them and how to break through some of those communication, you know, not weaknesses, opportunities, right?
Yes,
Absolutely,
yes.
absolutely. So, so what's on the horizon for you in terms of any particular workshops or anything that you're working on?
Well, there's one particular one I'm working on, and it's becoming more in demand, is the networking and social interaction with college students. They have, again, focused on their technical skills and what they know how to do, but then when it comes to presenting themselves, they fall short. Some of them even avoid contact with people because they have to look in someone's eyes and they have to speak. So when I'm doing a workshop or a full set of training, I said, you're going to talk every time we're together. You're going to say your name, first name, and last name at least once every time. You're going to shake someone's hand. You're going to ask a question. You're going to answer a question, because that's what the world's going to be like. You can understand robotics and you can understand the technical aspect, but if you can't explain that or engage people, you just got this fantastic product that you're not able to really speak on.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. Have you run into situations where a student has given you a very vivid example of what they wish that they had been in a scenario? Like, for instance, a job interview and they made a mistake?
Oh yes,
And how do you handle, and how should they have handled that?
there are a lot of those, especially in this era of technology and cell phones. Some of the things that young people have done with cell phones has been unbelievable. So I hope you don't mind my saying this. So you have your cell phone on the table right now, but guess what? You're the boss. You get to have your cell phone on the table. You can kick your feet up on the table. You own the company. You're the boss already. I can't come in and do that. I can't come in and plop my cell phone on the table and slip back and put my feet on the desk.
Wow.
You would look at me like, did she really do that? Some people do because they say, well, they said be comfortable, so I got comfortable.
So what you're saying is there's a literal be comfortable, then there's you have to present yourself in a certain way comfortable.
Present yourself in a certain way. And that's how I talk about etiquette. So people think about etiquette as being really frou-frou and about eating and knife and
I
fork.
saw the hand.
Yes, and it does include all of that, but etiquette is so much more. At the end of the day, etiquette is about the respect you show for yourself, for other people in the world around you. So I need to learn something about you and about your environment. So when people say research the company, and now with all this technology, you can research the individual. So if I know I'm coming in to see you, what do I know about you? What do I know about your company so that when I come in, I respect you by treating you well and honoring who you are as a person?
Sure.
Yes.
Sure. And this is also off the cuff, but as students, there's more competition, right, for particular
Definitely.
colleges you get into, as well as the job market.
Yes.
But if we back it off to that sliver of space called college,
Yes.
and the things that they need to prepare for, do you see more colleges allowing students to come in any old way with their English writing? Do you have any examples there?
Unfortunately, some of them do. A couple of years ago, I was given the opportunity to deliver the commencement address for National American University. And I wanted to know, why did you choose me? They rarely choose faculty. Sometimes it's a well-known person, national figure. And they said it was the way that I connected with the students and the way that I ran my classroom. That was a career college, and I took it literal. I am getting you ready for a career. So you couldn't come in my room just anyway. If you had career management, you didn't have to wear a suit and tie, but you had to come in presentable. If you had to make a phone call, I realized people have life outside of the classroom, but you respect me in the class enough to make your call outside, come in ready to work. That kind of thing. Or someone would come talking on the phone, or they use swear words. Okay, swear words, that's one of my biggest pet peeves. Yes, it's a red flag. So I said, you mean to tell me your professors allow you to use a profanity in the classroom? They were like, yeah. Well, they do. I said, well, can we have an agreement that not in this classroom, because I don't want you telling anyone that you were in my class and I allow profanity, because it's not going to serve you well.
Well, let me circle back to one key thing that you said was, what I don't think that many students understand is that as they follow their journey, as they graduate, as they're in high school, 10th and 11th, and then 12th grade for sure, right? Because that's a big year, 12th grade. And then as they go into college, let's say that they go to a 2-year university or to a 4-year university. Along the way, they've seen many, many different teachers. But at the end of the road, they have to look back and get referrals.
They do,
and so it's important that the students know to present themselves well. Even though they say be comfortable, you can't really be that comfortable, because those people might depend on your future getting in or out of that big job.
That's true. Now, my motto for my business is manners are memorable, because people remember what you do, what you say, and how you behave. That's why I say always put your best foot forward. What does that look like? You're still a teenager, and you're going to do things that teenagers do, but you got to be respectful to your instructors. Build those relationships, because if you haven't worked, your instructor is going to be your reference.
Absolutely.
Another thing was to join organizations. Some people are very bright and they have this high GPA, but there was no involvement on campus in high school or college. So by joining a team or a club, whether it's a sports team or a chess club or robotics, whatever that is, it's showing that you know how to work with people, that you can be a team player, that you are committed. So all of those things. So you start building your references by being involved in organizations, and you're building your friendships. Because I may have to call you. I may be on another campus, but maybe I'll call you and we can work together on a project.
I like that,
Yes.
collaboration.
Yes,
definitely.
exactly. Yeah.
Well, Ms. J, before we break, are there any things that you want to say to our young folks out in the audience? Any particular?
Yes, I always have something to say to young people. And part of my speech was that they hear all the time, children are the future. But now that I am getting more mature, they really are. So it's up to us to get them ready. You're getting them ready technically with the STEM work that you're doing. I'm helping them get ready socially and emotionally so that they are ready. They are a full, whole person. They're smart, they're caring individuals, and they know how to conduct themselves, and that's going to make them more marketable. And they got to be loving human beings because they're going to be caring for us in a few years.
Good point.
Thank you,
Ms. J,
Michael.
thank you for coming.
You're quite welcome. Thanks for having me.
Thank you for joining us this episode of Altitude. We also had a chance to hear from Sasha. Sasha, the future roboticist that's doing coding. And young people, definitely stick with coding, stick with robotics or any activity in STEM that you can get into. Just do it. It pays off in the end. And we had the great opportunity to hear from Ms. J so that as you progress into high school, you can start thinking about those things in your presence. We've talked a lot about social media presence, but your own personal presence and making sure that you make a positive impact on those people that you run into along your future great career. So thank you for joining this episode of Altitude, and we'll see you next time. Michael Wulf out.